All right, is everyone in? All right, good evening. It's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. That was probably the best Pledge of Allegiance we have had. I assume everyone's here for the Bellows and Ash permit. So. All right, we are going to start with our proclamation for the Gardner Gold. This is always one of my favorite proclamations of the year. So I'm going to come up here. Do we have anyone that wanted to come up?
I do.
Okay, so whereas Gardner Gold Special Olympics was founded in 2003, making this year the 20th anniversary of the program in the Gardner community. And whereas Gardner Gold Special Olympics program was established with the intent to give athletes with special needs the opportunity and excitement of participating in team sports. And whereas Gardner Gold Special Olympics began with 4 athletes in 2003 and has grown to almost 60 athletes due in large part to the hard work, cooperation, diligence, and vision of Gardner Parks and Recreation, our founding members, our volunteers, and whereas their commitment provides residents of Gardner with developmental disabilities a place to experience the joy and confidence associated with taking part in sports activities many may take for granted, and whereas the volunteers of Gardner Gold have helped our athletes develop a strong bond with the community of Gardner and with the special populations across the Kansas City metropolitan area, and whereas Gardner Gold has been proud to be able to provide these opportunities at no cost to the families because of the community support and involvement experienced in the Gardner community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Todd Winters, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2023 as Gardner Gold Special Olympics Day.
Handstand, Ellie. Handstand.
All right, that was great. Awesome. Okay, we have no public hearings. We'll move to public comments. At this time, members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a time clock to your left. No profanity, no personal attacks. With that being said, come forward and state your name and address for the record. The podium is now open. See anyone coming forward? We'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda you'd like to be removed? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoot, second Deaton. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, my microphone was way over here.
Come on, Tori.
Try picking it up.
All opposed? Abstain? Consent agenda passes. No planning and zoning consent agenda. And we'll move to committee recommendations. Recommendation number 1, consider approving a conditional use permit for the Bellows at Ash and Anvil for an outdoor live music stage. Dave.
Mayors, members of council, good evening. Dave Knopick, Community Development Director, City of Gardner. I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of this item. The applicant is present tonight if you have specific questions regarding what's being proposed here. This is, as mentioned before, a conditional use permit application for the Bellows at Ash and Anvil, located at, I'm going to give you 2 addresses, 117 South Elm and 204 East Park. So this, if you'll recall from the map that's in the staff report, that's kind of an L-shaped property at the corner of Elm and Park, the northeast corner. The conditional use permit is required to allow outdoor entertainment uses, and this would take up approximately 6,600 square feet of outdoor space of the 9,000 that is in this lot. There's almost 10,000 in the lot, but the building itself, the interior portion of the building, is primarily the western portion of the property, and then you have the eastern portion, which would be the outdoor entertainment and venue. The property is Zone C1, which is our downtown commercial district. The applicants provided a concept site plan and narrative regarding the proposed use of the property. Both of those were in your packet. I won't go into great details there, except if you do have questions, we'll try to answer those, or the applicant will try to answer those. Staff has recommended approval of the application with 9 conditions. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on October 23rd. Several people did speak to this item, but no one stated opposition at the time of that public hearing, and we have not heard anything regarding opposition to the specific use. We did get an inquiry, staff did, regarding parking in the area, and it was one of the residential properties on Park Street where there's angle parking provided. But they already have identified that they have a parking problem where when they come home from work, sometimes the parking right in front of their house is taken. So it's a general comment that they've had regarding that parking situation there. It wasn't necessarily just specific to this proposed use. Let's see, staff, I just mentioned it. It should also be noted that the C1 downtown commercial district doesn't require any on-site parking. So when we're talking about this, they are not required to provide parking here, nor are downtown businesses in the C1 district. They utilize the public parking kind of under a shared arrangement. And if you'll recall, there is a municipal lot on the west side of Elm, just across the street from here. So there are several spots at least that are available for public parking on that site. The Planning Commission, after hearing the item, recommends approval of the CUP, or the conditional use permit, with the 9 conditions. And as I noted before, the applicant is present. One item that I do want to specifically relate to here, or at least give to you, is item number 8. What is being recommended is that this would be a 3-year conditional use permit, so it would not reappear before the Planning Commission or yourselves for 3 years. But at 1-year intervals during that time, there will be an administrative review that's conducted by staff with the applicant. As part of that review, neighbors will get a notification, the people that were within the 200-foot notification radius. If we're hearing feedback that there have been issues or anything from that element, as well as our check, we'll probably check with police department and other departments to see if we've had any issues with the operation. That could be cause to bring them in at those times for more formal review and reconsideration of the permit. So if they operate according to the conditions and the laws that apply in the city of Gardner, that administrative review should be pretty easy, if you will. If we don't have complaints about it, if they appear to be operating within the parameters of everything described, they should get that administrative approval to move on to their next year. Then at 3 years, this could be reevaluated and potentially be issued a longer permit at that time without those administrative parameters, depending on what's going on. So I just wanted to explain that to you. I stand ready for any questions, and as I mentioned before, the applicant's here as well.
All right, thank you, Dave. Open up to public comment.
Hi guys, I'm Derek Stockton. I'm a resident of Gardner. I live at 31320 West 172nd Terrace. I am the business owner and the applicant here. And you know, this whole time throughout the building process of building my cigar shop and the bar, community has really been a big aspect of it. Cigar shops are known, at least amongst the cigar smokers, that it's a place where people can come to get together. It's the watering hole. I was too young to ever go into BJ's Oasis, but the stories I hear of BJ's Oasis right across the parking lot here remind me of Cheers, and it reminds me of the time when you know, people came together and everybody knew everybody's name, and really through our business at Park and Elm Street, that's kind of what we've created so far. We've been open in the cigar shop for about a year and about 4 months with our bar. I do want to clarify that this permit, or this conditional use permit, is for the Bellows. The property that we're putting it on is part of the Bellows, which is the bar, not the cigar shop. There, we have two separate businesses, and so this would be officially part of the Bellows. But the whole thing through both businesses is community and bringing people together and giving a place for people to go and hang out and really communicate. And so with this music, with the live entertainment or the outdoor entertainment, our goal is not to have blasting music, drowning out any talking or any, you know, we want to facilitate that sense of community. And we've all seen places and been to places where the music is too loud, and for sure that would bother neighbors. That's not what we want at all. Our goal is to keep it quiet, keep it low, have fun, and bring something new to Gardner. What we have seen through our businesses is we're bringing people in from out of town. We're bringing in people from as far as Peculiar, Missouri. Actually, this weekend we had a couple of people drive up from St. Louis and one guy from Andover, Kansas, to come visit our shop, specifically to visit us. So it's bringing people in from out of town. We bring people from Shawnee, Olathe, Overland Park, Lenexa, to our little corner there, and it's really been a great thing. So I think that having this permit would really open that up to us, allow us to do something unique in Gardner that we don't have. Actually, I don't know of anywhere in Johnson County now that is doing outdoor entertainment, at least consistently. So that's what I'm hoping to do here. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, City Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I appreciate you all for doing what you do. My name is Scott Miller. I live at 835 North Spruce Street here in Gardner. I've lived here for 19 plus years, going on 20. I'd like to speak in consideration of the Bellows and the Ash and Anvil. So Mr. Stockton, Mr. Derek Stockton here, who just spoke, was the one who designed the sound system for the Bellows. I'd like for all of you to look above you in the ceilings and count how many speakers are in the ceiling. There's exactly 12. Also, at the Bellows, there are 12 speakers, which Mr. Derek Stockton has been smart enough to understand that when you have live music on a stage, you don't want a giant amplifier with two great big PA speakers that blast music, where when you're too close to the speakers, you can't hear to speak with each other, and the people too far away can't hear, disturbing the neighborhood. Mr. Stockton, and I know, has how many children? I'll let you speak for yourself. 4 little girls, 4 beautiful, wonderful little girls. So he's a family man. Myself, I have 2 grown adult men that I've raised. We understand children, we understand residential areas, and you don't want to be, I'd say you, I understand that he does not want to be a nuisance to the neighborhoods. What I definitely would like to say from firsthand what I've experienced is this has brought a sense of community. The people that meet at his establishment are normally strangers that would never talk to each other on the street, and suddenly we become very close friends over this last little more than a year. Typically, where would people go in Gardner when they want entertainment? They'd have to drive to Olathe. They'd have to drive to Shawnee Mission. They'd have to go to Lenexa, somewhere out of Gardner, in order to enjoy some kind of entertainment other than the small restaurants that we have here. And this is one of the places where folks can spend their money in Gardner. It'll help maybe alleviate some of our taxes that all of us as residents pay. But what I'd like to make sure that you all understand is those 12 speakers are at a level that don't have the deep bass that travels very far. It's at mid-range and high range that don't really leave his property. And he understands, since I installed those speakers from his design, that everyone can sit and have a normal conversation without having to raise their voices and not disturb the neighbors. I know that folks think that if there's going to be an event that the sound is going to be louder or quieter. That makes no difference. It's the same speakers no matter what. And Derek, I understand, has relayed with me that there's a certain decibel level that we try to keep, and that he tries to keep at a level that doesn't disturb the neighbors. So I would like for all of you, I would challenge all of you tonight, after this meeting is over, to please go the 1-2 blocks down the street and come visit and see what it actually is for yourselves, probably after you make your vote. But that's all I have. Thank you all again. I appreciate you all for doing what you do, and thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott. Any other comments? All right, council, any questions, comments, concerns?
I'll kick us off. I'll just comment. Thank you so much for bringing your business to our downtown. I visited a couple times, really excited about the level of excitement you bring to our downtown. So thank you so much for that. Otherwise, I don't have any questions.
I too have been there, and it's nice for the neighborhood. I like it. I did attend the planning commission meeting, and I was impressed that the people that spoke there was one person that lives right across the street, and they were in favor for it. So I liked that especially. And just like in this staff report, they said there was no negative feedback, and there really wasn't at the planning commission meeting. Everybody was very on board. So welcome to the community.
I have some questions. Totally for this. I'm just wanting to make sure that we cover bases for future things so that we don't stumble into issues down the road if somebody else, if another business wants this, because I've read through everything that Derek has done to try to help with the noise and surroundings, and that's amazing. And I just want to make sure that if another business wants to do something, that it doesn't get out of hand. And I saw that he wasn't going to go, or was going to try to keep it 85 decibels or less, which is fantastic. Is that going to be, at any point, should we put a decibel level? And I even think 85 is low, because I looked at a decibel chart and it was equivalent to a blow dryer, and so I was like, okay, well that's not very high, which is fantastic. But at any point, would we consider putting a decibel level in this permit for other businesses, just for future? He's not
Right.
planning on it, but what about somebody else?
So the bottom line is for any business and actually any property in Gardner, we do through our public nuisance code have certain parameters already addressing sound and excessive sound. Now those are complaint driven. Okay, so if we receive a complaint on the activity that's going on out there, and it's off hours, it's likely police will be the ones that'll go out there. They'll take a look at the situation, try to make a determination if that's a violation or a public nuisance violation through that effort. You certainly do have the option if you want to add that into the conditions. We generally felt at this time we were comfortable with the idea that with the public nuisance laws in effect, knowing that we would have enforcement in those situations, that decibel level was a tolerable decibel level, but obviously we don't know how it's going to impact every individual household until it starts happening.
Well, and that was one of the things, because when I was reading the noise ordinance, it said that, people who are, the exceptions are law enforcement and people who have a conditional use permit to allow for it. So they would be kind of excluded
And we might look at it in different situations like that. Again, I think we have that catch-all condition that they have to meet all the applicable codes, which would mean that they would have to meet that public nuisance code. And that's kind of why we didn't specify the decibel level at that point.
Right, because then somebody has to measure it.
Yeah, and also for some people, what constitutes a public nuisance, it may not be the actual amplification of the music. It could be crowd noise. It could be any number of different things associated with the activity. So that's why we kind of stepped back away from just saying, okay, we're gonna define it at 85 and we'll go out there with a decibel meter and try to measure it. The hard part is, even on a call, I think the chief will tell you this, even on a call, by the time you get there, that noise could have dissipated. So like you said, do you require that they have a decibel meter that's actually registering and recording that can be checked? How far do you want to go? And certainly that is something you can consider as a council. We just felt as staff that we would at least make this attempt based on complaints, and with the 1-year administrative reviews, if we're getting complaints even before that year is up, there are ways for us to bring this back into consideration for potential revocation or changing the conditions at that point in time. So we were feeling comfortable with that.
Well, and I feel like they have done a lot to do that. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, I don't want to be a hypocrite if something else comes and they're not
Correct.
doing all the same things. I want to make sure that we are covered and,
Yeah.
and not liable if we don't give all businesses.
Right, and I do want to also indicate here, because of the C1 zoning, that's what's triggering this to be a conditional use permit. In some of our heavier commercial districts, that is not necessarily a requirement to have a conditional use permit for this activity. So it is going to be a little bit of a case-by-case, context-by-context scenario. Without having this kind of activity in Gardner before, it's kind of hard to sit there and weigh that balance of just how stringent do we become. So we played it on the safer side from our perspective. Again, I don't know if the chief has any comments from her experience with other communities when it comes to these kinds of things. But from our perspective, we felt we had the code hook that we could utilize to basically say, okay, this is becoming a problem, we need to shut it down. And obviously, we'd work with the property owner on that,
And then
or the
I
business
also
owner.
had a question about if somebody does complain, what does that administrative process look like? Because one complaint seems unfair to just yank a permit.
Correct.
So like, what does that process look like to make sure that the citizens are heard and that it's fair to his business?
Correct. So there's a difference between what I'll call the daily complaint process, which obviously any citizen can call at any time and say, hey, I'm having problems with noise. That will prompt a response from staff. The administrative side that we're talking about, the annual review, again, is more of a paperwork check. And in there, what we're gonna look for was, are there any registered complaints? Are they repetitive? Are we seeing some kind of operational issue that's coming up through this process that maybe was resolved on a day-to-day basis, but we might require what you're saying, hey, we saw this 5 or 10 times during this period of time, you know what, we need to add a condition now. We gotta get a little more stringent so we can bring it back into the process at that point. So you're right, we don't want this to become just this one neighbor who has an issue with, let's say they have an issue with the business owner, and so they're gonna use every opportunity to go against the business. That's gonna be an evaluation that we will talk with the police department on and others who have been called out to these things to get a feel for, okay, what's really going on here? So it's not just gonna be the number of complaints per se, but we may have that issue where we're sitting down and talking to the other departments and saying, what was the cause for this? What really happened? What did your look at this really reveal? Is this somebody who's just having a particular complaint with this particular person? Or is this a real issue that we need to clamp down on? So we'll work through that. And obviously, we're gonna bring the property owner and the business owner in also when we have that, to try to understand that before we recommend whether to come back through the formal process or not.
I think that was all I had. I'm excited for it. It's something new and something to bring more people to Gardner. So that's fantastic. But thank you very much for answering all my questions.
Yeah, this is like a breath of fresh air to this community. So I love having a lively downtown. My sentiments were very similar to Casey's with regard to, you know, the noise, not for this particular venue, but for any other venues that might pop up. I know that there are several that are under consideration for some folks, and I just wanted to make sure. Again, annoyance from sound is in the ear of the beholder. Okay,
what might be a nuisance to one person isn't a nuisance at all to somebody else. So it's a little bit arbitrary. Setting that threshold for decibels in the nuisance code would definitely help to crystallize that. But that's all. That's really all that I had. I'm excited for this because we've needed this.
And I will mention too that as we have these kinds of things happening, because we do have some other users out there that are looking to do outdoor stuff, that's another thing that we're going to be considering is proximity of some of these things and how the aggregate works. In this particular case, we really have, this is the first one in, so this is kind of the pioneering effort, if you will, for us on this item. But obviously, if downtown continues to gain momentum, becomes an attractive force, I know we've had inquiries from the brewery and some other locations, even on Main Street, to do some of these supplemental outdoor activities. Part of this will be what's the scheduling, what are we really looking at? And we'll have to coordinate those a little bit as we're looking at independent permitting, if you will. Some of them will be special use permits, potentially. So as staff, we will have to watch that coordination and timing on those kinds of things. I think that's also why we asked for the condition in here regarding reporting of when events are coming up. So Derek will have to, supply us with information in advance of these events so that we can distribute that to police and the other emergency services providers in the area. So in case there is an issue that pops up with this, they're already aware that that event is occurring or that activity is occurring. That officer who's being brought in, or that EMS person, or the fire person that may have to respond to a call or something like that, understands that there may be a larger crowd here that I'm dealing with and an activity that we just need to address it a little bit differently than we might if this was a single individual situation.
Thanks, Dave. Mark, do you have anything?
So, to Casey's points, I appreciate the questions. I agree, Dave, with what staff came up with. I'm one that's more, let's see where things go before we put in some hard line. Of course, once we have the line, you got to draw it there. But, already 85 is totally reasonable. I mean, that's a loud restaurant for all intents and purposes. It's nothing. So, and because of the size of the location, I don't anticipate a huge, massive crowd anyway. And while I won't call it a breath of fresh air because it's smokers,
Not in the Bellows. That's an outdoor venue.
I do appreciate that it was looked at from that perspective, and obviously the property owner, business owner there has done a good job of trying to mitigate these things without it even being an issue. So I think that's proactive. I appreciate it. So this should be great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I think it's one more thing we can add to downtown, continue to build that momentum of renovating the downtown area. So excited for it. All right, is there a motion on this?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We adopt ordinance number 2785, an ordinance approving a conditional use permit on certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 of the Municipal Code of the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk, welcome.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2785 passes. Thank you. Best of luck. Will you be doing a ribbon cutting at all for the Bellows in particular? Or?
We will be setting up a ribbon cutting for that.
Okay.
Good.
Haven't gotten there yet. We've been so busy getting everything else.
We need to know what the first event's going to be. I'd love to be there.
Yeah. We'll definitely publicize it.
All right.
And we'll
Steve does sing too.
Oh,
just
gosh.
So you know.
Oh my gosh.
Additional acts or anything.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an act, all right.
All right. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. No old business, no new business, no counts. Or we'll go to council updates. Start with Chief Waldeck.
I don't really have anything. Everything's going well.
That's good to hear. City Clerk, welcome.
Don't have anything here.
Okay. Matt's seat. Did you have anything there, Russ? Okay.
Nothing from me.
Jeff, did you have anything?
break the mold.
Okay.
I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the parents and volunteers that we have for Gardner Gold. This program began 20 years ago when I was here first starting, and the Matt Jordans, the Jennifer Smiths, they got it off the ground. And COVID kind of did a number on Gardner Gold. Adrian Holloperic, who's our recreation superintendent, has done a great job. I mean, look at how many young participants we have coming in. Thanks to all the businesses who donate, physicals or monetary donations. We have people send wish list stuff from Amazon. It's 100% self-funded, and they're thriving. I also want to thank the school district because they let them practice all their sports indoors. They've hosted some state competitions as well. So it's a really cool program, and I mean it's probably the biggest I've seen in 20 years now. So
Awesome.
pretty cool.
That's great. And Jason, I wanted, while I had you, we had my son had his end of the year football party at Veterans Park last night, actually, about 4 o'clock. And besides our group, we had a big group there, but besides our group, Veterans Park was packed with people. And, I mean, kids everywhere. And I can't tell you how many parents came up to me just individually and talked about how great it was, how popular it was, and how excited they were for it. So it's been a huge hit in the community. So congrats on that. Yeah. Okay. Dave, anything?
Not much tonight. I do want to mention one item. I had a meeting today. It was a pre-construction meeting for the culverts down south. So that is moving forward. So I thought I'd just mention that. There's a lot of inquiry and activity going on behind the scenes, which I can't talk about at this point, but I will say it's pretty busy. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of inquiries going on, and there's a number of properties that are being looked at. We have had some movement on the Waverly Plaza stuff in the sense that the investors that are involved now and engaged have cut loose the architects on that project for the residential portion of it. We're waiting to see those plans and things like that. But there's a number of items behind the scenes that seem to be moving forward, so there's good momentum right now.
Looks like there's been some activity out there with earth movers on that property in the last. No, I'm talking about Waverly Plaza.
Waverly.
Yeah.
I haven't been by there in a while, so I don't know for
Yeah.
sure. But I do know, like I said, there was another investment group that was brought in to partner on that, and they have been doing a lot of inquiries with us to get the plans. There's slight changes to the residential, but not much. It's adding a few units because they're actually combining a couple of the buildings, but they're still within the parameters of the preliminary development plan. So we're good on that front. So I don't know what they may be kicking dirt around on at this point.
Yeah, just to jump in, we have met with Phil Developas a couple times, and what we did at Stone Creek was the catalyst for the new activity, so
Good,
that did what it was supposed to.
good, excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Kellen, Public Works?
Nothing tonight.
All right. City Administrator?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Let's start with our Vice President.
Well, I don't want to say much. I do want to mention my son, Nathan, takes his bike up to Veterans Park every day, or darn close every day. It's his favorite park now. Never really hung out there before, but he loves going there now. I will say that there are people who go to that park from everywhere in the city. It's not just that neighborhood anymore. It is truly a unifying park in the city now, and that's one of the reasons why you're seeing so many people there. He ran into not hard. He ran into one of my other sons and his wife and their 6-month-old who were using the swings in the adaptive playground. They live on the northeast side of town over in Parma or near Parma. So it tells you a little bit of an idea where people are coming from to come to this park. And I will absolutely echo the sentiments that were demonstrated before for others. It's been a real hit, and I'm looking forward to the next project that we can get started on for the whole city.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all I had.
Council President? Change it up.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right. Councilmember D.
Okay, so with it being Gardner Gold Day, we should recognize that they are swimming in a state meet this weekend. So congratulations to the swimmers that made state, and we'll be cheering tomorrow, Election Day. Get out and vote, exercise your freedoms to vote, that's important. And speaking of exercising our freedoms, with Veterans Day coming up on Saturday, I hope that many Gardner veterans come on Friday so I can thank you in person. But if you are not able to attend, thank you so much for your service.
Wow. I would agree with what Casey said. I do agree about the park. I've seen people over there even when it's cold and dreary, when usually it's empty, so it's awesome. Thank you.
Councilmember Wade?
I will say, we have a group of folks getting together for Friends of the Gardner Greenway on Wednesday to try and do some cleanup, so I might be reaching out to you to pick up some trash. There's like a couch down there. Have you seen the picture? Yeah.
The couch?
There's a couch, yeah. So, any help that we can get.
All the effort to put it.
It's deep in there too. And supposedly it floated down. I don't know how it got down there. And then I would say, yeah, everybody go out and vote.
All right, thank you. And again, just as Casey mentioned, this Friday is our Veterans Day ceremony, and we're teaming up with the school district this year, and so hopefully we can make it an even bigger and better event. So thank you for everyone that will attend, and thank you everyone that can attend for your service. So look forward to seeing everyone there. Hopefully council can be there as well. That's all I have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, Bob, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?